Everett was a perfectionist. I believe that anything he did, he wanted to do his best at it. He was very methodical in the way he addressed things. It was like he would assess the situation, and there was like a system in his head. I don't know if he'd had it all his life, or it was something he developed. This worked for him, and it didn't leave anything to chance. You meet those people, they just know how to do things, and they have a rhythm in their head that takes them through this. And if it led him down the wrong road, then he would back up and start over again. He would share pieces of his casework. It became interesting to me because I love to hear him tell about his work. But he was a little closed mouth about that. You would get bits and pieces of it, but you never got start to finish. It would be things that were pertinent to, he would talk about kids that were on drugs and what happened to them and why you shouldn't be around drugs. And he would talk about people that would try and get their life together and the mistakes they would make, trying to make an impression on you that it can be done, people that had done it, people that had not done it. Just, I guess he used those as, I don't want to say ways of disciplining you, but making it real to you. It wasn't just something he was saying as a step-parent. He was saying it because here's my facts and this is what happens, that sort of thing. I remember one night, and I don't even remember what brought it up, but we were sitting in there in the living room and he was over in his recliner. And he started talking about Mary Faye Hunter. I said something about it's a shame they never found out who it was, not knowing he had worked on the case. Not a clue. And he says, oh, we know who did it. We just can't prove it. Not what you know, it's what you can prove. And so he went into a little more detail about it. He talked about when her body was found, or her remains, when they were found, and the area it was in. He talked about finding a trail under the leaves had fallen, it seems like, and they pushed back the leaves and found a way that cars got in. And they started looking around and they found a bag that had French's instant potatoes in it. And you couldn't really tell what it was because the top part of the box was weathered. Picked it up, turned it over, and the receipt was on the back. So the timestamp on the receipt confirmed whatever it was that they had speculated about when she had been at the store. It was a paper receipt instead of this heat-sensitive paper that we have now, I think. It was preserved because the box was laying on top of it. The box was not worn. It was laying on the paper bag. It was next to the trail where the car came in. And so they got to looking close in that area, and they found a bush or a tree or something. And there was somebody that worked with them that knew the area. And they said, this is not from here. And so they got a horticulturist from South Alabama, and I don't know if it was Montgomery or Mobile or somewhere down in there, to come up and look. And that's exactly what he said. If you can find, and the way the branches were bent, he said it looks like a car door has closed on this. Now, whether it's front or back, he couldn't tell. He just says it looks like the limbs are bent, like a car door has closed on it. So if you find a car, if you have a suspect and you can find a car, look for these berries. And he had, he said, because it would have had berries on it at this time. They tracked down the car, and I don't remember how they got to the car. I don't know if it was tires. I don't know. That's a blank in my memory. They worked backwards and traced it down to a gentleman that worked at one of the plants back here. I can't tell you if it was Wolverine or Goodyear, but back in the area where there were plant work. They went in, they told him what they wanted. He gladly let them look at his car. And they pulled up the back seat, and there were berries. So he had a receipt when he bought it. They called the dealership where he purchased it and asked them when this car with this serial number or date and year, whatever it was, describe the car. And they said yes, and it was the date that she disappeared. It was that Saturday. Everett says, well, if you have a receipt for that, would like to come down and get it. I don't know if they actually get the receipt or they made copies. I don't know what they were going to do with it. So they go down there, and when she pulls out the receipt book, the page in front of the receipt, the page of the receipt, and the page after the receipt have different numbers from the rest of the book and different dates. He did talk to the salesman that took the car, and the salesman verified that it rained that Saturday, that he got the car for practically nothing. He had not made a sale that month. It was just things stuck out in the salesman's mind, and he knows exactly when that car was brought in, but the receipt said different. The gentleman that bought it actually told him it looked like a brand new car on the inside, but when they pulled the back seat, the lower part of the back seat out, that part had not been cleaned, and it's like that's where the berries and the bush had been caught, and they were up under the seat. I cannot imagine having the responsibility of finding the things that they had to find and working as hard as they did. It was unreal how many hours of work he had. I got the feeling that he wanted to give closure to families, and he wanted to do it efficiently, and it was frustrating to him not to be able to do this. But yes, he was a very caring person.